there, I'm Jen. I'm here to do a little routine for you runners out there. So it is helpful if you have 2 blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, you could even, if you have some books maybe to stack up just so it brings the ground a little bit closer to you. And you don't have to have a yoga strap. You can use a tie or anything along those lines just to have a strap. So go ahead and just find a comfortable seat. It may be that your hips are feeling really tight and your knees are up. This is where blocks can be really helpful too. If you're feeling tight, especially if you just went for a run, and just let them relax a little bit for a moment. And just take a minute to notice your posture. You might be kind of hunching over. Take a few minutes to circle around through your shoulders, maybe move in different directions. And then just take a minute to rest your hands on your thighs or your knees and just close your eyes. And we know how important breathing is in running, and it is what gives us calm in every area of our lives. So close your eyes for a moment and just imagine that your belly is like a balloon. And when you begin your inhalation, you're going to begin to blow up the belly and draw the breath up into the ribs. And imagine if you could pull the breath the whole way up into your sternum, up into your chest. And then exhale it back out from the chest, through the ribs, and then the belly completely empties. So do it again. As you inhale, the belly expands. You pull the breath up into the rib cage, expanding open, pull it the whole way up into the chest, and then reversing. So you may notice that you're a reverse breather. A lot of people are. When they inhale, they think the belly goes in. So just focus on this. Do a couple more rounds, just breathing. Just allowing yourself to connect with the peaceful side of the nervous system. When we're not connected to our breath, we can tend to be completely disconnected from that peaceful side. So we can be in that fight or flight. And then go ahead from here, and you can move the blocks out of the way. We'll come back to those a little bit. And you're going to come into child's pose. So you're going to come up onto your knees, and then take your knees away from one another, kind of hips width distance. Your toes can be touching, and just start to sink back to the hips. So the hands touching the ground. You may find that the forehead doesn't find the mat, so feel free to have a little block there so that you can rest the head for a moment. And just take a few breaths here, just stretching back into the hips, into the back body. Maybe walk your hands over to the left and pull your hips over to the right. I like to walk kind of on the fingertips. I'm really pressing into the fingers, into the ground. As you press into the fingertips, draw your hips over to the left, starting to open up into the side of your body. And then bring yourself back through center. Just move the block out of the way if you had it. We're going to come up to all fours and just start to move through some cats and cows. So this video isn't necessarily about doing a flow class. This is really meant for you to do to enhance your running by stretching and taking care of all of the muscles that you use when you're a runner. So we're going to come back to downward facing dog now. So if your hamstrings are really tight, I have a couple cues for you. The first is to keep your knees bent. So instead of thinking that your legs have to be straight and you're kind of more here, bend your knees and then send your hips back. So again, it may mean that the knees are really deeply bent. You also can take your feet wide, and that will give your hamstrings a little more space if they're feeling tight today. And then from here, we're just going to start to move a little bit. So you're going to lift up onto the balls of your feet as high as you can, and then just send your heels over to the right. Just moving nice and slow. And then bring the heels back through center. Send your heels to the left. Make sure that you're really using the full span of your hand, press down into that rather than just into the heels of your hands. And then go ahead, come back to your downward dog. So here's where you might need a little assistance with your hand, is we're going to send the right leg up to the sky. So you're going to bend your right knee, open up your hip, and again, you can have a little bend in that left leg as you start to really stretch into that left hamstring. And maybe circle around through your hip, see how that feels, move in opposite directions. And then you're going to bring your foot between your hands. So if your foot ends up getting stuck here, no big deal. Just use your hand to pull it through. This is where your blocks are going to come in handy, or if you're feeling really open and you don't need them, that's fine too. But what I want you to do is get nice and long in the left leg first. and then lower your knee down. So you don't want to be right on top of the kneecap, kind of the meat right above it. And if that feels uncomfortable, if you're on a really hard surface, you could flip your mat over and put your knee on top of that, or you could have a blanket or a pillow there. So once you come into your lunge, it may be helpful to slide the blocks back, or they can be forward. What you don't want to be doing is kind of hunching. And so the knee's directly over the heel. And you're just gonna start to lean in, lean forward. So you're starting to get the stretch into the left hip flexor and into the left quad. So you may even like to bring your hands, interlace your fingers, and press down into the thigh. And as you lean back, you'll deepen the stretch into that left leg. Come back to your breath. Notice about 80% of the time we breathe just up in the chest. So see if you can come back to those deep breaths. When we hold our breath or we breathe in through our mouth, we're signaling our body that we're in fight or flight, right? So that's why stretching can be hard if you're holding your breath. So make sure that you continue to breathe here. And then go ahead and you can move the blocks out of the way. Bring your hands back down to the ground. Pick up your left knee and swing your right leg up to the sky. So you can make little circles around through the hip or just kind of shake it out, circle around through your ankle. And then go ahead and lower your right foot down and swing your left leg up to the sky. Again, bend the knee, open the hip, wiggle through the toes or circle around through the ankle. Maybe move around through the hip, circling in 2 directions. And then again, bringing the foot through, no big deal if the foot gets stuck. Use your left hand, drop forward. So coming to your runner's lunge, get nice and long in that right leg first, and then lower the knee down. Bring those blocks in. They just bring the ground to you, right? Make your arms a little bit longer. And so again, what we're trying to work into here is the right hip flexor and the quad. So you're gonna kind of lean forward into that. So it may be helpful if you interlace fingers and press down the palms into the thigh. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. All of our anatomy is different, so whatever feels best on your foot. But as you push into that leg, you might be able to intensify the stretch here. And this isn't the only time we'll be stretching the quads. We're just starting to warm the body up. So one last breath here, and then we're gonna move the blocks out of the way. Go ahead and pick up that right knee and swing your left leg up to the sky. So if this doesn't feel good or the hamstrings are feeling really tight, you can always lower your knee down and still get that release in the hip from being on that left foot. So coming back to downward dog, I want you to take a nice full breath in, as deep as you possibly can get into your lungs, and then open up your mouth and let it go. Take your right leg back up to the sky. Again, that left heel can be way off of the earth. And then pull the right knee in. Again, you can use your hands if you need that help. Bring the blocks underneath your hands. Lower your left knee down. So again, if you want to fold the mat over so you have that padding, we're just going to start to shift forward and back here. So you're going to shift your way back, pull your toes back towards your shin. And again, you can keep a nice bend in this knee depending on how you're feeling on your right side. And then we're going to shift back onto the sole of the right foot and stretch back into that left quad. So pulling yourself into the forward fold. If you want to focus on the breath, the exhale is here. And the inhale, we come forward, stretching. So one more time here, pulling the toes back towards the knee and then shifting our way forward onto the sole of the foot. This time when you come back, we're going to pause for a moment. Keep drawing the toes back towards your knee. And we're going to come into a little IT stretch. So you're going to turn your right toes as if they were at 2 o'clock. And then you're going to swing your left hand around to find your right. Keep isometrically pulling your right heel back towards you. And you may find that you can twist a little bit further. This will also start to stretch over into the QL and the left hip. And then maybe you can let the right toes drop a little closer to 3. And you'll feel the stretch, hopefully, going the whole way along the IT band. And remember to breathe. When you hold your breath, you're just telling your body that you're in trouble. So make sure you breathe here. And then slowly come back around. And you can pick up that back knee. And we'll free the right leg up to the sky. So whatever feels good. And then lower that right foot down, send your left leg up, and pull it the whole way through, however you like to get there. Bring those blocks in, get nice and long in the right leg, and then lower the right knee down. So again, toes tucked or untucked, and then feel free to stretch back here, keeping as much of a bend in that left knee as you need. So again, we're just kind of telling the body we're going to stretch a little bit deeper, but we're moving nice and slowly, right? We never want to force our body or our muscles into anything. That's when we end up with injuries. So we're just kind of taking this slow, and then we'll go a little bit deeper. So coming forward one last time. And then this time as you come back is when we're going to pause and add that little twist in. So again, you can keep this knee as deeply bent as you need. Start to turn the left toes to about 11 or 10 o'clock, depending on your flexibility. And then you're going to reach your right arm across, find that block. And then draw your heel isometrically back towards you. So the back toes can be tucked or untucked. And again, if you want to go further, you can take the block back a little bit more, but just be mindful that you're not twisting too much into the low back. So one more breath to be here. Just breathing nice and deeply, nice and slow. And then we're going to come back around. So go ahead, place those blocks forward, pick up your right knee, and send your left leg up to the sky. And just give it a couple rounds of circling if that feels good. And then lower your left knee down. So we're going to do this one more time on each side. Right leg sweeps to the sky, and then pull it through. So pulling the blocks in, lower your left knee down, straighten your right leg, and fold forward. This time we're going to take it into a little twist, so come forward onto that right foot. You're going to keep your left hand on the block, your left knee can stay down, and you're going to twist open. Right arm reaches to the sky. It may feel good to pick up the back knee and then really press back through your heel, maybe even stretching your right arm back. So a lot of times we need to get a nice opening in the chest after doing running. A lot of our activity doesn't require for us to stretch across the chest and the heart region. So one more breath here. And then go ahead and lower that hand down, move the blocks away, and stretch the right leg back up. Maybe moving through some circles in the ankle, the hip, whatever feels good. And then lower that right foot down and send the left leg up. Pulling the left foot the whole way through. Each time maybe finding a little more space. So get nice and long in the right leg, and then lower the knee down. Straighten that left leg, fold in. Nice flexion in the left foot. And then coming forward onto the sole of the left foot. So again, that block is there for you to press the right hand in, and then taking that left arm up to the sky. So it may feel good to just stay here and play with this, maybe stretching your arm back, maybe pick up the back knee and really hug your inner thighs towards one another, pressing through that back heel. Totally up to you. The good thing about yoga is there's a place for us to land, no matter how our body's feeling on any given time we roll out the mat. And then go ahead and bring that hand back down, move your blocks out of the way, and pick that left leg up. And then go ahead and lower your left leg down. Just take your gaze forward towards your hands and take as many steps as you like, hands walking back, feet walking forward. Come to a forward fold, and this is where your blocks can be really helpful as well. So coming to this forward fold, just keep a micro bend or a deep bend in your knees, right? Keep the back nice and flat. And then we're gonna come the whole way up to standing. So once you come to standing, you're gonna shift your weight over into your right foot, and you can always use a wall for this piece. So as you shift your weight into your right foot, pull your left knee up. And we're gonna do some movement through the hip. So a nice hip joint circle. You're gonna take it out to the side, around to the back. Really engage through your core, right? Not just the front of the body, but all the muscles that support your spine. Balance is really important just for human beings. It's not just for yoga. And then the next time, that you bring your leg around, we're gonna go into a figure 4 shape. So you can cross your ankle on top of your thigh, bend your standing leg, hands can come to the hips, or you can bring the palms to touch. Now, if this is too intense for you, feel free to come to a seat and do it here, right? You also could get a little deeper by folding forward. So the blocks are great because they bring the ground to you. So maybe you come and fold forward, and me looking forward is not what you should be doing. It's not good for your neck. So maybe you're here, maybe straighten that standing leg, but make sure that your foot is in flexion, that it's awake. When we have that flexion in the foot, we're keeping the knee safe. So one more breath here, just kind of stretching in to that left hip. And we're gonna slowly start to make our way back up. Go ahead and pick up that knee, lower it down, and then we'll shift. So when you're balancing, it's really important to find a spot to look at that isn't moving. So once you get the motion, you don't need to look at me anymore, find something else to look at. Start to circle around through that right hip. So again, feel free, wall's great. Balance is all relative. Every day our balance can be different. One side's gonna be different depending on injuries. So the next time you circle that leg around, cross the ankle, come and sit. So imagine you had a chair behind you that you're sitting back into. You don't want your knee to go forward, right? It's still gonna be tracking above the foot and then sitting back. So make sure your foot is awake. If the foot is sickling, it's not firing these muscles to support your knee, especially if you're working with injury. Hands can come to the blocks, maybe straighten the leg and fold in. And again, come to your breathing. Notice if you've been breathing through your mouth, that's gonna stimulate that fight or flight in your body, and you're gonna wanna run away from these stretches rather than stay and experience them. So one more deep breath here. And then pulling from your center, make your way back up. Pick up that foot and go ahead and lower it back down. So I'm gonna pivot back around to the top of the mat. Have your blocks right underneath your hands. And we're gonna step that left foot back. So now, getting nice and long before you lower the knee down. Again, you can have that little padding if you want underneath your knee. So remember earlier when we were here stretching the arm back, so now this is where your strap can come in really handy. So again, you might want some padding underneath your left knee. So you're gonna pick up your left foot, and with your right hand, bring the strap over the top of the foot. And then you're gonna turn your hand down and pull your heel in towards your left glute. So make sure it's not tracking over to the right, but your elbow is reaching straight back and you're pulling in. If that's too intense, you can always play with taking the other side, right? So using the same hand as the foot. So just stretching into the quad, into the hip flexor. So one more breath to be here. Go ahead and release that left foot and pick up your left knee. You can just move your strap out of the way. And you're gonna step your left foot up as far as you need for your foot to be flat. And then flex your right foot. So same thing we did earlier with our knee down. Start to turn your foot on the dial to about 2 o'clock. You can stay here, or you can reach that left arm across. Keep isometrically pulling the toes, the heels back towards your body. And then slowly release. Plant that right foot, step your left foot up, and step your right foot back. So second side, get nice and long in the right leg first. As you lower the knee down, maybe switch and have that padding available for you. And we're gonna get a little bit deeper in that right quad and hip flexor. So bending the knee as you draw it in. You can take the strap and wrap it around. And then you're gonna turn the hand down, grab the strap, and pull your heel directly to your right glute. So again, if this doesn't feel great, you can also do it same hand, same foot. Totally up to you. When we do the opposite hand to opposite foot, it's a great way to balance out the brain, connecting the right and left side. So one more breath here. And then go ahead and release the strap, just move it off to the side. We're gonna pick up the right knee, step it as far forward as you need. Make sure you're on railroad tracks, right? Not like a tightrope where your feet are in the same line, but you want them to be hips width distance. And then from here, start to flex that left foot. Turn the left toes towards 11, 10 o'clock, and then reach the right hand over. So again, don't hold your breath. When you hold your breath, your body starts to panic. So take those deep breaths, fill your lungs completely, and then empty them out. And just play with how deep you want to get here. You're in charge. So one more nice breath here. And then slowly release it. Go ahead and step your right foot up to meet your left. And we're just gonna come down onto our knees. So this is a great stretch for the shins, if you have shin splints, for the tops of the feet. So we're gonna come onto our knees and bring the hands back behind you. Start to lean back. I like to come onto my fingertips, but you could be on the palms if you want. And as you lean back, start to lift your knees up. So you'll feel this stretch starting to move down the front of the shins into the tops of the feet. And you can kind of just play with just a little bit of movement, a little bit of shifting. So just a little more here. And then we're going to focus on stretching the bottoms of the feet. So one more breath. And then you're going to slowly come up. Bring your hands forward. Now tuck your toes under. So we're going to shift back now and sit on the heels and really stretch into the toes. Then we're going to add a little shoulder stretch here. So reach your hands behind your back, hug the shoulder blades, interlace your fingers. And if you're unable to do that, no problem. You can also catch opposite forearm or maybe even elbow. But you want to think about hugging the shoulder blades onto the back and again, opening across the chest. And then maybe drop your chin down towards your chest. Drop your left ear towards your left shoulder. Start to stretch into the neck. Come back through center. Drop your right ear to your right shoulder. And come back through center. Go ahead and release it. Lift up. And you're going to come the whole way now down onto your stomach. And once you do, you're going to stretch your left arm directly out, parallel to the top and bottom of the mat. Let the right side of your face rest. You're going to press into your right fingertips. So this is going to get into your shoulder and to your quad. So you're going to roll the whole way over onto your left side and even tuck your left shoulder a little bit more. The common misalignment here is people will have their heads kind of forward looking down at their feet. You want your neck to still be in that straight line with your spine. And then from here, you can stay or you can bend your right knee and reach down with your right hand and pull that heel into the glute. So again, if you want to use the strap, you have that as well. You can reach down and find the foot. And again, breathe. Maybe close your eyes. Just imagine each breath finding a little more space here, a little more opening, a little more relief. And then go ahead and release that foot. As you roll yourself back over onto your belly, go ahead and stretch that right arm out. Turn the head, press into your left fingertips, and roll over onto your side. So again, make sure that your head is not out of alignment, but it's a nice straight line. And then from here, maybe tuck your right shoulder a little bit further. You can press your left hand into the ground to stretch into that right shoulder a little deeper. And if you want to add the quad stretch in, reaching for that left foot. And then you want to make sure that you're drawing your knee straight down in line with your hip, rather than it being up and kind of in a weird, funky place. So one more breath to be here, hugging that heel in, stretching into the right shoulder. And then go ahead and release that foot. You're gonna roll yourself the whole way over now onto your back. We're gonna come into what's called cow face pose reclined. So you're gonna stretch your legs up to the sky and think about making an X with your legs. So the right leg is gonna cross in front of the left and the knees are stacked. From here, you're gonna begin to bend your knees and draw your heels down. So there's gonna be lots of places where the hands can go. You're gonna lift the head and shoulders up. Maybe you find the shins. Maybe you're able to reach and find the bottom of the foot, finding the pinky toe sides of the feet. You could go to the top. But what you wanna think about doing is drawing your heels down towards your hips, and then reclining back and letting your head rest. So as you press the legs out, the further the heels are from your hips, the more intense this is gonna be. So play again with just some pulsating. So moving the heels away, kind of going into the intensity of the stretch, and then drawing them back in. So maybe closing your eyes, and again, moving through with the legs doesn't mean that you're not getting an adequate stretch, but it's just kind of a kinder way to stretch the muscles rather than just getting to a stretch and forcing it, holding your breath, all of that stuff that we tend to do when we're in an intense situation. So one more breath here, and then go ahead and release. Stretch your legs back up to the sky. Now you're gonna bring the soles of your feet together and your knees apart. Reach for your shins, maybe your ankles. It's almost as if your feet were in prayer. Start to draw them towards your heart. Press your elbows into your inner thighs. And again, don't force it, just pressing nice and slowly and then drawing away from the intensity. So each round, maybe you go a little bit deeper, you find a little bit more stretch. It might feel good to just kind of rock from side to side, get a little low back massage here too. One more breath to be here. And then go ahead and straighten your legs up to the sky. We'll take that second side. So cross the left leg in front of the right, knees are stacking. Then bend the knees. And you may notice a difference here. Maybe you catch the shins, ankles, heels, whatever. Just kind of play with what works best for you. And then coming back down onto the back. Noticing maybe this side's tighter so you don't kind of move as deep. But play with bringing the heels down towards the hips and then drawing them away. And again, feel free to close your eyes and focus back on your breathing. The breath is the ruler of the mind. So when the mind is taking you to a place where you are not present, the breath is what brings you back. So staying connected with the breath is a great gift that we have. So 2 more rounds here. And then go ahead and release. Hug your knees into your chest. We have one last stretch we're going to do. And you're going to want to have your strap. So send your left leg long. Take the strap around the ball of your right foot. Notice the left leg is not just kind of hanging out. It's almost as if you were stepping on the earth, right? So pressing into the sole of the foot. And you can just play with being here. Never lock out your knee. You can have a little bend into the knee here and play with that. Walking the hands up the strap, you may be really far away. And we're going to take this into a nice twist. So from here, you're going to take the strap into your left hand. Reach your right arm out to a T. And you're going to start to roll the whole way over onto your left hip so that your left pinky toe, the left side of your left foot, is finding the ground. And then I like to put my elbow to prop. You can always have a block if you need to prop it there. And then press your foot into the strap. Take your right thumb, press it into your hip crease, and draw your hip crease down. So hopefully you're feeling this along the IT band. And then let your head turn to the right. Remember that your left leg is pressing down as if you were standing. So it's not just hanging out, but it's actively a part of the pose. And then take a little bend. If you don't have one in the knee, make sure you have a bend in the knee and bring yourself back through center. Go ahead and release your right leg down and just notice the difference in the right and the left leg. And then hug your left knee in and find the strap around the foot. So if you don't need the strap, that's fine. You can always piece fingers to the big toe. That's also a way to do it. Right foot is pressing down as if you were standing. Little micro bend in the knee. And again, if you can think of this idea of just slowly coaxing the muscles to stretch rather than forcing, holding our breath, kind of, shaking, can you instead just take some time to just move a little bit further in and then walk back away from it. So a few more rounds of breath here. And then we're going to move into that twist. So feel free to have a block on the right side of the body. And you're going to take your left arm out to a T. Start to roll the whole way over onto your right hip so that right pinky toe finds the ground. And then the elbow can come down. Maybe you have the block where you can rest it. Foot is flexed, pressing. And then you can take your left thumb to your hip crease and just draw it down. That should probably be a little bit of a game changer for you. Pressing your foot into the strap, but then resist the strap into the foot. Let your head turn to the left, maybe close your eyes, and just breathe into it. So one last breath here. Make sure you have a bend in that left leg as you bring that leg back up around. Release the strap. Release your left leg down. And then just close your eyes here. Bring your arms down at your sides. See if you can relax your shoulders down into the ground. Notice all the places that your body is touching the ground. And take a deep breath in through your nose. Just open up your mouth and let all of the breath go. And then kind of come back to your natural breathing. Relax your feet, your ankles. Relax the legs. Notice if you're holding any tension in your knees. Imagine your hips just kind of melting open. The breath rising and falling in the belly. Shoulders relaxed, open across the chest. Relaxing your arms, the palms of your hands, your fingers. Let your head hang heavy into the ground. Relax your face, your jaw, your eyes. And just take this moment here to let your body absorb. Allow yourself to welcome in a feeling of calm, of peace. One more breath to be here. And then start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, make some circles with your ankles, make some circles with your wrists. Stretch your arms overhead like you're just waking up first thing in the morning. You can roll yourself over to one side and make your way up to have a seat. Thank you so much for watching today. Namaste.